Good evening. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Board Secretary caused notice of the meeting to be given to the public and the press on January 7th, 2019. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Delia?
Here.
Mr. Donner? Mrs. Gamarakian?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Munoz?
Here.
Mrs. Rubin?
Here.
Mrs. Saha?
Here.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Here.
And Mr. Silverstein.
Here, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Clark, any communications?
Yes, the first New Jersey School Board Association, they wrote a position paper on school funding, and that was before the state budget was passed, but that was part of your packet. The second is New Jersey School Board Association. It's a reminder on mandated training to be completed by December 31st. I think I've reached out to anyone that needs it. Ms. Saha, you've already done yours. Ms. Rubin, you did yours. Ms. Gamarakian, you did yours this year, if I recall right.
I haven't done any because I didn't get it.
And it's because of your email.
address, right?
Now, we changed your email address for the superintendent's evaluation.
Right.
So let me reach out to the call center and have them resend it to you.
But
Okay?
you should only have to do governance 4, right? Because-
You only have to do governance 4, yeah.
Right.
That's what you're up to.
Right.
Okay.
But I still haven't done it.
Okay. New Jersey School Board Association, they have summer leadership series that they're offering. If you'd like to attend, let me know. I think tonight was the first session. I think they have 2 more after tonight. One at the end of the month, or actually one at the beginning of August, one at the end of August. The fourth, New Jersey School Board Association Notice of Resolution cutoff date, and that's for the delegate assembly in November, is September 19th. So if you have a policy or a regulation that you wish to submit, we have to do it by September 19th. New Jersey School Board Association School Board Notes, June 19th, 26th, July 1st, and 10th were all part of your packet. Garden State Coalition of Schools, News and Notes, June 21st, that was part of your packet. National School Board Association National Connection Daily, June 18th through July 11th. They were all part of your packet. Board candidate packets, last time I'm going to be able to announce it because they are due at the end of the month. Applications are due by 4 p.m. July 29th. The election is November 5th, which is part of the general election. I have some additions for the board on, I believe it's attachment B on Attachment B for personnel. Mr. Davino.
Are there only 4? I don't know what 4. She only gave me 4.
I'm just looking at it now. How about this? I want to read them. Mark, okay. Last name, and these are all teaching staff members.
These are additions?
These are additions. Teaching staff members for the personnel agenda. I believe that's attachment B. Last name is Cusick, C-U-S-I-C-K. First name Colleen. English teacher here at the high school, step 0. Master's plus 30 plus PhD, $67,102. This is a replacement. And September 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2019. All dates, I'm sorry, 2020. All dates will be that, okay? Next is Gainer, G-A-G-N-E-R.
Gagne, probably. Gagne?
Gagne, okay. Derek, culinary arts teacher here at the high school, step 5, BA, $58,672. And what's that?
No.
Oh, okay. This is a new position. Next is Cariello, C-A-R-I-E-L-L-O, first name James, PE teacher at EVW, step 0 BA, $55,478. This is a replacement. The last one I have is Dushik, D-U-S-H-E-C-K, Marissa, PE teacher at Walton, step 0 BA, $55,478. And again, this is another replacement. That's all I had.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, that's it. That's what I have.
Thank you. I move to approve the minutes of the executive meeting and the regular meeting of June 17th, 2019.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Munoz. Any discussion on the June 17th minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Everybody there on the 17th? Okay.
No, June 17th.
June 17th,
June 17th.
the last regular meeting.
No.
Oh, no, the July, I was looking at July, you're right, abstain. I'm thinking of the July 1st one. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
I move approval of the minutes of the special executive meeting of July 1st, 2019.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mrs. Gamarikian. Any discussion on the July 1st minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And any abstentions?
I abstain.
2 abstentions on July 1st. All right, thank you. Mr. Davino, Superintendent's report.
Okay. Essentially, the report consists of, you heard 4 additional staff members added today. Staffing is almost complete at this point. We're waiting on one additional acceptance, and we're by the next meeting, we'll be probably fully staffed throughout the district. Also, there was a question Ms. Saha asked. You can ask it now, and I'll do it during the superintendent's report so everyone understands it if you'd like.
Sure. So I just had a question about, let me just, there's a hiring for an attorney for something related to an H-1B, and I just wanted to understand the circumstances around that.
This is another personnel issue, and actually new territory for me, and certainly new territory for this board. But I did interview a recommended teacher of Italian to replace Mr. Fabiano, and the teacher was clearly superior and acceptable. However, under some of the legal ramifications, she is Italian. She comes from Italy. She is a citizen of Italy and requires a visa in order to be able to work in this country. And as a school district, and for people in her position, her previous district, which gave her rave reviews, was reducing in positions, and they could not guarantee her a position, and so her visa expires, and she had to leave the country. I happened to interview her before she had to leave the country, but there was an attorney that there's an attorney that specializes, and I checked with our attorney, who felt that it was both more prudent and financially more responsible to utilize someone who's experienced in this area, which is why that's on the agenda this evening. And there are fees that we have to pay to literally allow her to gain entrance back into the country and to be able to teach as long as she has a certified position with the school district, which I have to sign documentation that I am guaranteeing her a full-time teaching position. So that's why the form is H-1B, and even I keep looking at it and I go HIB, and it's not, there's nothing to do with HIB. It looks like HIB, but it's not HIB, unless you consider that she's being harassed in her attempts to work and to the benefit of our students in a very difficult to fill position. And there are hoops we have to go through, and that's what that motion hires that attorney to go through the hoops for us. That really is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you. I move to accept and approve the superintendent's report as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mrs. Rubin. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention. All right, public input on agenda items. If there was public here, we would invite them up to provide any input on agenda items. Seeing no public in the audience, we'll move to the business portion. Mr. Munoz, Finance.
Yes, I would like to move to approve finance from items 1 through 14, please, with a roll call.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Munoz, seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on these? Just for new members and the public, the bulk of these motions are annual renewals of insurance coverage and other things. Since our year begins July 1, our fiscal year begins July 1, the school year begins July 1, we traditionally do this at the last meeting in June or first meeting in July.
And in addition, you have two bill lists. One is the end of June, and the first one is the one for July. Because, again, as Mr. Silverstein mentioned, you have two different fiscal years in play.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, Mr. Clark, will you call the roll?
Mr. Delia?
Yes.
Mrs. Gamarakian?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubin?
Yes.
Mrs. Saha?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Miller, School Government.
I'd like to move items 1 through 6 with a roll call vote.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Munoz. One correction to motion 5. The last, the last
Yes.
item, gifted and talented, grade K-12, should read gifted and talented grades K through 5, and all schools should say elementary schools. So with that amendment, any other discussion on these items?
Yeah, just want to point out that this includes the personnel that Mr. Clark read in and also the H-1B matter that Mr. Davino explained during the superintendent's report.
And we should probably, out of an abundance of caution, point out that although the name of the lawyer is the same, there's no relation that we're aware of. But just for anybody wondering out there, we'll take care of that up front. If there's no other discussion, Mr. Clark, will you call the roll?
Mr. Delia?
Yes.
Mrs. Gamarakian?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubin?
Yes.
Mrs. Saha?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Silverstein?
Yes, motions pass. Mrs. Rubin, Buildings and Grounds.
I move to approve numbers 1 and 2 with the roll call vote.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Rubin, seconded by Mr. Miller. Before we address these, Mr. Clark, will you want to give us a update on
Yes.
where we are with these?
Yes, I do. Hold on 1 second. Mr. Miller, you seconded, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Quick update on summer projects. The two roofs, so you have one here, it's really for the paperwork. It's the bonding, the insurance part of it that they have to turn in. They got their application in, and that's why it's on here. That's White Roof or
White Rock
Construction. But for both of them, materials are supposed to be delivered this week. Then you'll start seeing tear off and removal and placement of the actual two roofs, Walton and high school. The high school, the completion date is August 19th. Walton is August 26th. That allows for each of them at least a week for the punch list items. Walton should go pretty quick. It's not that large of a roof. Here, with the peaks, even though it's a shorter time, it may be a little more difficult when they're working up here. But stay tuned. I'll get you more information as it comes in. I requested everything this morning just to make sure I had the right timeline. So we're still on time. Caldwell, the brick facade, that started 2 weeks ago. They've been grinding. They've replaced one of the steel beams that had to be replaced because the one, when they got behind the wall, they saw that it had rusted, basically rusted out. It needed to come out immediately. So they're making progress. That one, they're supposed to be done by Labor Day, at least the grinding and all of the cutting. So when they're laying on the mortar, there's not gonna be any sound. We always take precaution. We want all the grinding and all the noise done when children aren't in school and instruction is not happening. So we're working on that. We're working with them, and they're doing a good job. Also at Caldwell, if you remember, you received an email last spring, which I responded to on behalf of the board, but there's an update regarding Caldwell Gymnasium, that it was tired. It needed work, and it did, and we knew it. But one of the things was we were working on the exterior, but we wanted to get that in place before we started the interior. We already started the interior. We started the interior. We ripped up the floor already. We've already sanded the floor. The troughs that we have on the side, you got to remember this is an old building. So the troughs right now, the grates, they don't sit level, and we actually were working with the contractor that's doing the exterior. He'll come in, he's going to help us go ahead and level those so that we can have those grind down and that it's a smooth surface all the way across. Painting of the room, we're right now receiving estimates. We have one a little high, so we've asked for another. Although they do have a acceptable bid through one of the co-ops, we still want another for both the floor and the walls.
So staining the floor, painting the walls.
Not staining,
Painting,
painting.
doing the
Yeah,
floor.
because you gotta remember, it's
Got
a
it.
concrete floor.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's all happening. The front of the building, it's kind of gotten a little away from us, but we didn't know what we could pull. And we've been trying to work with the gentleman who helped install it, and he actually came out 2 weeks ago. We were able to pull what looked like trees, but they are actually weeds that have grown that large that he said, no, that's bad, get them out here. So we had 6 of those that we pulled. He'll be back this week, and we're going to mark all of the different weeds. The concept was, and we still it's still there, we just need to go ahead and now really fine tune it. You have the northern section all the way towards Mountain Avenue of New Jersey, then the central section of New Jersey, then
Hang on, just
Go
to
ahead.
make sure everybody's up. We've now switched from Caldwell back to
Oh yeah, I'm back at
okay,
I'm at Dayton.
because I
I'm
saw
sorry.
people wondering
Yeah.
about
Oh,
Mountain
yeah,
Avenue
I'm
and
at-
Caldwell. So
I'm at
okay.
Dayton. I'm sorry. I'm at Dayton, and I'm talking about the front of Dayton
Sure.
where we pulled the weeds, which were actually trees. No, I apologize. Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
make sure we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it
I
out.
called one, and you're like, where the heck do you have those?
Grass
Yeah. But you're right. You're right. Sorry about that. Here, we're at the high school. When that was designed, Rutgers Cooperative came in. They actually did the whole design. It's a rain garden, that whole section. It was the largest one at the time that they had installed. And what ultimately should happen is we're building a path to go through it so you could walk through it, because it should be a lot more open than what it looks. We don't know what to take out and what not to take out. So he came by, he looked at a few things. We have a few things that have grown that he said, I don't know what that is. And he just grabbed a leaf and he took it back and he said, okay, we're going to transplant these. We're going to pull them out and we're going to put them somewhere else. He said, you don't want to get rid of these. Don't know how we got them. Probably birds with seeds, because we do get a lot of birds in the spring in that area. Yeah, no, it's not that. But that's being worked on, so we're going to go ahead and look at that this week, mark it up, and with Mr. Licketies being here at the high school, he does a great job with maintaining in our courtyard in that area. So,
Hey Matt, on once we get the landscaping cleaned up out there, do you think the guy from Rutgers can maybe put something together that we could put on boards in the 3 areas that explain what it is? Because I know we've talked about it a lot, that it's supposed to take you through the vegetation in the northern part of the state, the central part of the state, and the southern part of the state, but I think that's lost.
part
on the
of
outside.
our conversation with Toby 2 weeks ago was that we had talked about the name plaques for each of the different kinds of flowers, trees, grass, whatever it is that we have in there that represent each of the different sections. He was the one who brought it up and said, and we've got to get those plaques in.
Yep.
So,
Okay, but even,
and that's
even-
why, so that when you're walking through, you can see and say, oh, that's a
right.
flower.
I'm just saying, in addition to identifying the individual ones, it would be nice to have kind of an overall explanation of this rain garden is, supposed to.
Almost as though, like the plaques that when you go out on the field on Jonathan Dayton.
Exactly.
That's what you're
Yep,
saying. Yeah, that's
yep.
what I thought. So we would put 3 in.
Yep.
Let me
That'd be
find
great.
out. I can ask. Yeah, I can ask.
And they don't have to be that elaborate, maybe.
Right, or even one.
No,
if
but-
it
Or
just
one that explains the whole thing,
all-
right.
The
Well,
whole
even
project.
the idea, that the Rutgers Cooperative, because there's one at Caldwell too, I believe, right? Rain
Yes,
garden
that's a
was
small
designed by
one.
them?
That is a rain garden that they did put in the front. Yes.
Yeah, like it would be nice, I
That
think,
was
to
the first one
explain.
in,
It's
that
it's
we-
pretty.
that
It-
we
it- but
did
it-
with them.
Yeah, if there's the
Yes.
possibility of identifying that one also, because I
But
think.
we credit, we have to, because he's the one who
Sure.
brought it in, was Anthony Cancro.
Yep.
He was the town administrator at that
Mhm.
time, and he did a real big push on rain gardens and finding green space. And we basically, we supported it, we agreed with him, and we were like, bring them in. Well, let's look at it, so.
And just the Caldwell gym that we're talking about. So the parent who had emailed us, we have responded to him.
Yeah, I did that
Awesome.
a while ago. I
Great.
believe
So
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
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 But
Mhm.
Yeah, but Matt responded.
I responded and copied Scott. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
a big part of the response was explaining that this
Sure.
was in the works for the summer, and that's, why it looked the way it did, was because a lot of the things that he had raised were things that had been done intentionally in order to investigate exactly what work needed to be done.
Sure. Great.
So,
Question about that. Do we ever consider doing like a before and after picture on our website, just so people could see? I mean, there's people who are never in Caldwell. It would be nice, for our community to see the changes that are going
Well,
on.
we're almost taking it back to the before.
but
See,
she's saying,
you know what the after looked like with the rubber floor and the different painting. We're
I've
actually
been in
taking it. We're
Caldwell-
actually taking
What,
it
in
back.
the gym?
Yeah, the gym.
I've been there one time for a quick
Yeah.
basketball drop-off.
Yeah, so we're actually taking it back to. Yeah, we're taking it back to, I'd say, the 1990s.
But it's going to be cleaner.
Yeah,
yeah, but
Absolutely.
I'm sure that Mr. Rennie's got to have pictures of
I do too. I
events
think he
there,
does.
and
Yeah.
yeah, well, right.
Yeah,
But
well, we
it's-
do have those pictures. We can use those. Yeah.
Yeah. But when it gets done, that's
Well, I'm just curious. Was there ever an idea or possibility of adding windows on that exterior, sorry?
Would there ever be a possibility of elaborating, adding windows there? It's such a dark room.
I don't know which.
I mean,
one
I
you're
don't
talking
know.
about.
Caldwell.
That would be the,
Caldwell, the gym.
The gym?
the north
Yeah,
side.
has there ever been a discussion of putting any kind of like natural lighting into there? It's, I mean, are they gonna, we're not putting any lighting, additional lighting in there, so it's not gonna change the fact of what it
No,
kind
but
of
we are.
comes to look
We
like in a
are
picture.
investigating, and
And-
there's a very good chance that we're gonna be changing out all the lights in the district. It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
We
I mean, I know
have
we've
well
worked-
over 10,000
Or that.
lights, and we wanna change them out to all LED,
Right.
like what's in here.
I agree. I mean, it's just dark, and I just figured, you know, you go out to every other gym that we have in this whole, our school, in all our schools, there was a lot of windows, and there's just no windows except for like 4 in that whole gym, that's why. It was just-
I
The,
think
the
that-
original design, which way back in whatever, the 30s, was obviously poorly put together.
yeah,
but-
it's, what's interesting, let me,
Not sure engineers would necessarily agree with that.
Only because that
do it
whole
like-
side is
do it
exposed.
tonight. This is a
Okay.
meeting tomorrow with
To
the
ask about
contractor.
windows, and then,
And-
Yeah, it's a really old building. So the old part is apparently better than the new part.
Yes.
yeah. Armchair engineering, I've learned, is not necessarily the best way to plan things.
They don't make them like these. They don't make them like these. That's how it works with most everything.
Probably a reason. I think it's structural, but I'm not positive, so I'm not the final.
Or it just could have been they had a vision. Okay. I'll send.
All right. Any other discussion on these two items?
No, Woodburn won't stop windows. All in favor?
No, Ms. Clark, will you call the roll?
Yeah, Mr. Delia?
Yes.
Mrs. Gamarakian?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubin?
Yes.
Mrs. Saha?
Yes.
Mrs. Turnbull?
Yes.
And Mr. Silverstein?
Yes, motion's passed. Thank you. Back to open public session. We are open, but there is no public. So we will move on to old business and new business. And just want to note that we'll be putting out a notice tomorrow that the August meeting date will be changed from August 19th to August 12th. And just want to confirm again that we have a quorum for that date. Is there anybody that can't make the 12th? I know Tony couldn't. Everybody else is good for the 12th, so we've got 5? Okay. All right, so we will see everybody on the 12th. Anybody else have any other old or new business, or as Pat Venezia used to say, nold business?
Seeing none. I move to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Delia. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We are adjourned. See you in August.